Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants lost to the Nationals today, 5-1. And this is significant after I've really been promoting Anthony DeSclafani as such a great starter because he wasn't great today. He allowed 5 runs in the first inning. And it's interesting that he really settled in after that and managed to get through 7. The point, however, is that the damage had already been done at that point after the first inning, and the Giants' offense couldn't pick him up. They couldn't come back. If they had been able to get the bats going, though, they would have had a chance, and I think that in that kind of a situation, DeSclafani's ability to get through 7 would have been a large benefit, but the Giants, the damage to the Giants had already been done in the first inning after DeSclafani allowed those 5 runs. So I think we just look at that and say that it's always going to happen that a pitcher is going to have a bad inning. I mean, that's just something you kind of got to expect. And DeSclafani, it was 6 innings were scoreless, and it was that one that, so I think in a sense that's just unfortunate, and it happens to every pitcher. They have really bad innings and all that. So in terms of whether this is really a long-term concern for DeSclafani, I think we've seen so many good performances from him this year, and the fact that he's been just about lights out up until this point really seems to prove the case that I'd say we don't lose confidence in him at this time over this one bad start. It's unfortunate in the Giants' situation. I was just talking about a couple days ago, after they took the series by winning the second game against the Brewers, that's when I was talking about this and saying, hey, the Giants are jumping back into this. They have another chance to get caught up in their record, but they're going to have to not lose it like they did last time. It was just a couple days ago that I was saying it. Like, basically, the Giants are back in. They've got another chance here. But last time, they were so close to catching up in their record, and they dropped it again. And they can't do that again. But that's exactly what they're doing right now. And the seesaw, it just continues to rock one way and then the other. And now they've lost 2 straight games. And it's not so much that the Giants necessarily can't survive on this. I wouldn't look at the way, especially even if we were a month later than we are now, even if this was June 8th instead of May 8th, I wouldn't be saying we should lose hope over the fact that the Giants are kind of hovering around this mediocre place in the standings and just seesawing back and forth, winning a few games, appearing to get caught up, and then losing, falling behind again. Even if we were a month later, I wouldn't say that it was time to lose hope, but especially now, it just being May and all that, I think it's certain that if things continue this way, and I totally understand the possibility that if the Giants don't keep on their game, or if they have injuries that just come at the wrong time, they might just fall on a big losing streak and it's all going to be real bad. But if they can at least kind of hold out like this, I think they can survive continuing to hover around this point, this fixed point where they're a bit behind in their record. And I think their postseason hopes can still survive in the season because, as we know, there's always a chance of making a late season rally. Now, it's probably hard for some of you to believe because the Giants don't have a history of being able to make good real late season rallies. I mean, they've jumped back into contention in 2 recent years after being widely out of it. And in 2022, it was like the second half of the season that was pretty much bad. But I mean, in terms of like the last month or so, they don't have a history of being able to really get stuff done and get into the postseason. But, I mean, that could change this year, and I don't know what's going to be the same and what's going to change. So the Giants, I think they could survive if they just kind of hang on here. And hopefully, too, they will recognize their need to add players on at the trade deadline, and hopefully they'll just act wisely there and get the players like in the spots that they need. But yeah, it doesn't override the fact though that somehow the Giants have to get past this tendency that they have to gain ground and then lose it again. They are somehow, whether it's right now, which would obviously be ideal, or whether it's going to take them a while, just kind of learn from experience and figure out how to beat everybody else. It's going to have to happen. They're going to have to get past this somehow. Now, I will point out that last week was a winning week, and although the Giants didn't come away with a sweep in either of the two sets that they played, it is significant that they won each series. They won the one against the Astros, and then the weekend series against the Brewers they won as well. Also, this first game against the Nationals, though it didn't go well, it doesn't rule out the possibility that the Giants will come back and take this series. After all, when they lost the first game against the Astros last week on Monday, how many of us really expected that they would come back and take that series? And the Astros are just notoriously one of the best teams in baseball. But the Giants did it, so the possibility of the Giants coming back and taking this series against the Nationals, I think, is definitely not ruled out. But the Bats will have to get to action, which they weren't today. That their lone run came in the ninth when it was way too late on Jock Peterson's solo home run. So they will have to get up their intensity a bit in the near future. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please leave your questions and comments. You know where to do it. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.